There's a science to DEI. Everything that happens within your organization or that should happen within your organization can be explained by science. If you want to better understand your DEI efforts and how they can be their most successful, really, you should turn to science. It's the blueprint. Now, as the creator of the table of diversity, which you see right here above me, chemistry is typically where I turn when I want to better understand DEI and how we as people can better see ourselves, interact with each other, and really create a culture where people are treated equitably and they feel like they belong. Now, I want to take some time with you all today to really look at those parallels between chemistry and DEI. To illustrate these parallels, we are going to take it back to your high school chemistry class. Yep, you're going back to the chemistry lab. So you're going to come with me on a journey of doing some experiments, some that you're going to be very familiar with, some that might be brand new to you. But I'm not here to teach you about chemistry. I'm here to talk about DEI. And I think a fun way to do that, to better understand how we can work together better within our teams, how our organizations can create strategies that actually work, and how the science of DEI can really help our organizations achieve success. We're going to look at chemistry. One of the things that I loved about chemistry, of course, was doing the experiments, but I didn't fully appreciate the lessons that we were being taught. I didn't fully appreciate all the things that chemistry and those experiments were teaching us about life. So I want to take some time to really relate to all the things that we experience on a day-to-day basis as humans, to better understand how does it work in chemistry. How do those elements and compounds and bonds, how does it work itself out? And how can we utilize that same scientific methodology to better understand how we can work together as teams, how our organizations can work better together in the communities that we serve, the clients that we have, the partners that we come in contact with, the stakeholders who are invested in our success, and then us as the employees. How does it all work together? We're going to explore that through a lens of chemistry. So today we are going to do a tried and true science experiment. I would say that this is probably a science experiment classic. If you can recall any of the science experiments you've done in your chemistry class, this one is probably a staple. You even might have done this with your kids as they are going through their own chemistry classes. Now, a word of caution before we get into this experiment, I am not a chemist. I will not be winning the Nobel Peace Prize for chemistry by no means. So if you're looking for a lesson in the chemistry, you should probably go talk to your high school chemistry teacher. But I hope that you will see this as an experiment in DEI. I hope that you will see this as an opportunity to dig in deeper to diversity, equity, and inclusion through a science lens. All right, let's gather all of our ingredients. So I've already got them all settled here. First, you're going to need vinegar. You need some water. Baking soda. You probably guess what we're going to do by now. And a couple drops of dish detergent. You've probably seen this experiment in science fairs, and it might look familiar if we had volcano and some dye. In both of our test tubes, we are adding equal parts of water and vinegar. Vinegar is an acid, which explains its sour taste. They are known for being reactive and they can sometimes cause changes in the substances that they come in contact with. For example, they can corrode metals. On the pH scale, and I know this is another throwback to your high school chemistry class, acids fall below 7, with lower numbers indicating stronger acids. Baking soda, on the other hand, is a base, and bases usually have a bitter taste. Bases are also reactive and they tend to neutralize acids. On the pH scale, bases are above 7, with higher numbers indicating stronger bases. Really quick, shout out to Ooze Labs for the chemistry station. It made it super easy for me to take a trip back to my high school chemistry, class with this handy all-in-one lab setup. So in one of the test tubes, we're going to add a couple of drops of detergent, which is a stabilizer, meaning that it creates a more controlled, visible, or long-lasting effect. Without the detergent, which we're about to see, the gas escapes faster, the bubbles fizzle and fade away faster, quicker. But as you can see, that does not diminish my excitement. Look at that reaction. Up next is the test with the detergent. And what's interesting here is that the detergent doesn't necessarily affect the chemical reaction between the acid and the base. The reaction is the same with or without the detergent. The stabilizer amplifies what's happening. So, what does this mean through a DEI lens? So that was really fun, way more fun than I thought it was going to be. And it definitely took me back to my high school and college chemistry days. So that was fun. Here's what I know. Uh, right now, there are people on your team that are seemingly opposites. They are when they come together, you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if they're going to come together and it's going to be a calm, cool, collected day, if they're going to come together and they're going to be super reactive, or if they're going to come together and create magic. You really just don't know what to expect when two people on your team, it could be you, it could be someone else, come together. And that's just the reality of working on teams. Not everyone is going to get along for whatever reason. And again, to better understand how to create harmony, I think the best place to turn is science. So you may be wondering, how does that relate to this experiment? Let's talk about it. So, what your team may need is a stabilizer. They might need some detergent. And I don't mean that literally, right? What I'm talking about is they need someone, the leader, they need an influencer, they need another team member who is going to be the stabilizer, just like the dish detergent was the stabilizer for the vinegar and the baking soda. They need someone who sees and recognizes them individually, but also can see that potential of when they come together, they can really create magic. They can work together and be productive. They can really work together and let their lights shine. That's really what we're looking for here. They need someone who is knowledgeable enough, who is what I call a DEI scientist, and can take them on that journey. And I think that there are a few lessons here for us to learn. So let's talk about what those lessons are. I think the first lesson is that there's nothing inherently wrong with the vinegar or the baking soda. Sometimes when we see things that aren't working, we try to figure out, well, what's the problem here? And as you can see with this experiment, there's neither one are the problem. One is an acid, one is a base. They're doing exactly what they are designed to do. It's just that we have to figure out how can they come together and create that positive reaction, create that foam. And as leaders and people who are working on teams, that's what we have to do. We have to figure out what's the best environment for us to work together so that we can be productive as a team. But again, there's nothing inherently wrong with vinegar, because in the right environments, vinegar is going to shine and be the superstar. And there's nothing wrong with baking soda. And in the right environments, baking soda is going to be the star and is going to shine. And the same can be said for the people on your team and within your organization. Sometimes they just have to be in the right environment. And we have to really understand, what is the end goal? What is it that we're looking for? What's the end result? And then how can we ensure that all the conditions are correct, that all the conditions are right, so that everyone can come together and be productive and work together. The second lesson is that, we're not just one element. When you look at the chemical formula for baking soda, it's all of these things. And if you take away one aspect like sodium, well, it's no longer baking soda. So it's not going to act in the same way as we would expect it to act. The same can be said for how we show up within our organizations. We have a unique diversity formula, which you'll see using the table of diversity here. But if you take away one aspect of our identity, or if you're asking folks, to mask a certain part of their identity, or if they have to code switch, or if they have to hide who they are in order to be successful within the organization, well, they're just not going to be able to live up to all of their potential. They're not going to be able to bring their energy, their excitement, their creativity and innovation into the workplace because it's just not them. They're not operating within their excellence. And I think that that's a really important lesson as we go throughout all of the upcoming chemistry experiments is that, these elements, these compounds, these things that we're working with, they're not just one thing. And if we were to only look at them based on one aspect of their identity, well, we're probably going to overlook all the things that make them unique, the things that will help us help them to thrive and to be successful. And I think the third lesson here is specifically for leaders. And if you are a leader, either in a managerial role or if you are an influencer, as I like to call them, so you don't have necessarily a managerial role, but you are someone who has influence over the decision making, or you have influence over other people on the team, then I think we have a responsibility to be those stabilizers. We have the responsibility to really understand what are the team dynamics and how can I act as the stabilizer. How can I be the one to ensure that everyone is set up for success and able to work together productively? You have to understand who are the acids on the team, who are the bases on the team, and then how can you act as the stabilizer? And again, I'll go back to the first point that I made. It's not that the acids are bad and bases are good or vice versa. It's that they need to find the right environment to thrive. So either you create that environment so that they can thrive, or you just have to deal with the consequences of them being, in a state of unequilibrium so that they are not able to do what they can do to thrive and be successful. So I think the point here is that either you are creating an environment where the acids and bases can come together and create literally what we saw, the magic, the foam, the continuous eruption of innovation and creativity, or maybe it's just you want folks to get along. You want folks to come to work, get their job done, and just get along so that we can get along. Whatever the goal may be, it's our role as leaders to be the stabilizers in each of these scenarios. So you may be wondering, how do we get there? And I think the first thing that's really important is that we have to adopt a DEI, scientist mindset. And what do I mean by that? First, you have to understand your own diversity formula. Right? Just like we can break down and see the formulas of the baking soda and the vinegar, and really understand how adding detergent to that combination creates a certain reaction. You first have to understand who you are and how you show up, and whether you're an acid or are you a base or are you the stabilizer. That will help us better understand how to work effectively across identities, to work effectively with other people on our team and across the organization. So first you have to look inward. It's an inward journey. It's a one of self-discovery so that you can better understand you. And in doing so, you'll really be able to understand others and make space for them to show up as their full selves. And then you have to think about what's the best combination here on this particular team for what we're trying to accomplish. What's the best combination of talent, of perspectives, of identity, of all the properties that, people bring along with them how can we ensure that we have a great understanding of what we're trying to achieve and what it will take to get there? And again, as leaders, it's sometimes it's an experiment. Sometimes you have to understand it's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that, and we need a little bit of a stabilizer. And eventually, through that experiment, you'll find the right balance. You'll find the right formula. And so that's one part of being, a DEI scientist, is really experimenting to understand what's the best combination here. But it's also, once you find that combination, it's about keeping that momentum going. It's about keeping that innovation and that creativity going, so that it's not just a one and done like we saw with just the vinegar and the baking soda combination, but you're keeping that steady flow of foam, of a reaction, of bubbles, of creativity and innovation, and all of that flowing consistently and constantly. And sometimes that takes other types of experiments. And sometimes, we call these things in the workplace activities, exercises, discussion prompts, to get people to better understand themselves, to get people to better understand each other, and really to understand the world around us. And so that's what it takes. We'll talk about some other ways that you can adopt a DEI mindset, a DEI scientist mindset. So it is a journey to get from a place of polarization where people are constantly, at a heads with each other, to a place of either calm, equilibrium, or to get the reaction that you're looking for, the positive reaction where innovation and creativity flow. It takes some time to get there, and it's a journey. And you don't have to go on this journey alone. So if you want to get some experiments, some things that you can do within your organization to better adopt that DEI scientist mindset, to help people better learn themselves, learn about each other and the world around us, put in the comment section journey, and I'll be sure to send you some experiments that you can try. Until next time, everyone, bye.